Welcome to this special edition of Hannity, the left's war on Trump. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle in for Sean tonight. The liberal mainstream media continues to attack the president. The host of MSNBC's Morning Joe escalated their feud with the commander-in-chief by calling President Trump names and even accusing him of blackmail. Take a look.
We had so many people saying, hey, hope you're okay, had calls and texts and emails. We're okay. The country's not. He packed about 5 lies into the tweets, which is very productive, 2 tweets, to pack 5 or 6 lies into 2 tweets.
He appears to have a fragile, impetuous, childlike ego that we've seen over and over again. We
got a call that, hey, the National Enquirer is going to run a negative story against you guys. And it was, Donald is friends with, the president is friends with the guy that runs the National Enquirer. And they said, if you call the president up and you apologize for your coverage, then he will pick up the phone and basically spike this story.
But it didn't end there. MSNBC guest Donnie Deutsch became unhinged in his attacks on Trump. Take a look.
He's physically disgusting to look at. I mean, that's what I find ironic about the way he starts to always go after other people's physical attributes. So beyond the fact that he's obviously not well, and Joe and Mika have a great comment, he's clearly, obviously obvious misogynism, the obvious vulgarity, the obvious stupidity. He's not mentally okay. You're a pig, you are a bully, and you are doing disgusting things to this country.
But, Donnie, doesn't it lower, again,
yes,
the discourse to say what you said about his physical appearance?
You know what? It absolutely does. He is a vulgar human being. He's vulgar to look at. He's disgusting the way he behaves himself as the president. Now, once again, I'm going to elevate the conversation. Donald, if you're watching, we're from Queens. I'll meet you in the schoolyard, brother. We meet you in school.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. This is where this needs...
Can you put the sunglasses back?
No.
My goodness. And President Trump responded to all that by tweeting, quote, watch low-rated Morning Joe for first time in long time, fake news. He called me to stop a National Enquirer article. I said no. Bad show. And earlier today on Fox & Friends, special counsel to the president, Kellyanne Conway, slammed the media for its vicious attacks against the president. Watch this.
It's incredible to watch people play armchair psychologist, outwardly ridiculing the president's physicalities, his mental state, calling him names that you wouldn't want your children to call people on a playground. You would punish them for doing that. And then all of a sudden feigning shock when he wants to fight back and defend himself and hopefully change the conversation, because the conversation right now is a one-way conversation of toxicity. A lot of these people on TV do not criticize his policies. They do not criticize his actions and his beliefs. They criticize him.
Joining us now with reaction to all of that, Fox News contributor Herman Cain and Fox News correspondent at large Geraldo Rivera. Okay, so Herman, I'll start with you. Have you ever seen this kind of level of hatred and vitriol coming from the media directed at a United States president?
No. And as a friend of mine stated, these people are dipped in stupid, because they're focusing more on insults than results. Let's talk about the legislation that was passed yesterday called case law to keep the bad people out. Let's talk about the fact that this Independence Day, we're going to see the lowest gasoline prices in years because of the policies of the Trump administration. Let's talk about the 11 congressional resolutions that this president signed to roll back regulations that would allow this economy to continue to grow and boom the way it is. Let's talk about results instead of focusing on insults, and that's why they are simply suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. Yes. And as a friend of mine said, they are dipped in stupid.
Stupid. Okay, Geraldo, so what do you make of this? I mean, because you know all the players involved, you know the president very well, and you know Mika and Joe and Donnie Deutsch. What's going on here? Because it's a little bit of a double standard, because Mika and Joe have been very aggressive, very disrespectful to the president, have called him every name under the book, questioning his sanity, his mental state. They've called him a thug with how he behaves with world leaders, but yet now they're offended.
First of all, the clips you played, Kimberly, established beyond any doubt that there is an unremittingly hostile atmosphere, a toxic, putrid atmosphere surrounding this president, generated by the mainstream media, whatever you call the journalistic establishment, most of whom hate this president because they all consider him an accidental president, and they all think that they are smarter than he is. I've known him for over 40 years. I am still proud to call him my friend. One of the reasons I love this president is that he's a street fighter. He's spunky. He will fight for what he believes in. In business, it works great. Running for president, it works great. It doesn't work so great when you are president and you're trying to run the country. Turning the other cheek is a concept unfamiliar to him, and I think that sometimes he creates a kind of conflict that hurts him. He exacerbates the negative vibes that are directed in his direction. But clearly, when you see this level of disrespect, when a second-rate commentator like Donnie Deutsch can so demean the President of the United States as if, he was, some low-level dishwasher employee, not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that it really is very, very telling that there is a level of disrespect that is malignant.
And Herman Cain, I mean, during the campaign, President Trump, they made a big thing of, if you're going to hit him, he's going to hit you back, twice as hard. He's somebody who doesn't mince words. I think, it's been consistent in terms of he's been very transparent with his tweets. He tells you what he's thinking, what he feels. He felt very disrespected by them in the show and the names that they have called him. But then some people say, well, this took kind of the eye off the ball and took the crisis with CNN and fake news out of the media. What do you think about that?
No, I don't think so. And this may be one of the first times that I agree with Geraldo.
Come on,
hooray.
Mr. King.
There you go. In regards to your question, no, it didn't take the eye off the ball. The people who support Donald Trump, and I know this firsthand from doing a daily radio show, they don't care about all of the insults and the exchanges. They are looking at results. And yes, they don't like the fact that the liberal media tries to take the eye off the ball, tries to change the focus by focusing on insult exchanges. No, the people that support Donald Trump, they are looking at results, and the results are impressive.
But I disagree with you on this point, Herman, with all due respect. And I really, I do. The détente lasted only 7 minutes or so. But here's where I disagree. Too many of the president's problems now are self-inflicted. When he tweeted that President Obama wiretapped his offices in Trump Tower, when he tweeted out that Comey better hope that there are no tapes of their secret meeting, and when he tweeted out that highly insulting, offensive message about Mika Brzezinski the other day, he created problems that were unforced errors. He could have been talking about his agenda, but because he is that street fighter, he hasn't learned the discipline. He has to be less impetuous. You want him to succeed. Many of his policies, as you indicate, are succeeding. They are positive. The stock market up 10% this year alone. Unemployment at record lows. With a firm foreign policy that's working for the United States. There's big business to do. He can't be fighting these little snitchy fights with insignificant commentators who wouldn't be recognized by their own mothers.
Maybe he's capable to do both, Herman.
He created these problems through the perception of the lens of the liberal media, not in the minds of those people who are looking at results rather than insults. I agree with you. When you say he created a problem with all of these various tweets, you are right. For the media, but not for the people who really care about the results he's trying to achieve for the American people.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. So the people that support him, Geraldo, that were so behind him, that big movement across this country, the working men and women across the country that said, listen, we want something different. We want somebody that's not going to put up with the nonsense, going to drain the swamp. They like, I think, his straight talk and his transparency. I think they find it refreshing and trustworthy that they believe him.
I would rather, knowing him as an accomplished businessman, I saw him turn the prostitute, junkie-laden Hotel Commodore into the Grand Hyatt that saved all of Midtown. I saw him build on the west side, the wrecked west side of Manhattan. I saw him take a garbage dump in the Bronx and make it a terrific golf course.
Yes.
I've seen him achieve things. My point is, when you fight these totally insignificant problems brought on by insults that you react to as if they were, gigantic, catastrophic statements from from Putin or the Chinese premier, you distract from your own agenda.
Yeah, but now
I think he's got to.
But now I think, Geraldo, you just talked about his personality and what's he like in his background, right, Herman? He's a builder from Queens, and he still is.
Here again, one point that Geraldo and I agree on. These are distractions, and that's what the media focuses on, trying to create distractions. But what I'm saying is that the people who support this president for the results, they are not distracted because of this.
Right.
These distractions feed the liberals, the progressives, and the Democrats who care more about their political agenda than they do about the people's agenda. That is what the difference is.
But what about the fact, Geraldo, that, there's a lot of news that could have been a little bit unfavorable, dicey for the president in terms of health care. So the media wasn't focusing on health care. They weren't focusing on what was going on in North Korea, perhaps as part of the strategy. Sometimes he puts a tweet out there and, let's see what happens, and it takes the media off on a rabbit chase.
When I worked with him every day for 6 weeks on Celebrity Apprentice, I watched him masterfully. You could ridicule my comparison. It's a show, but you really saw him producing. You really did. Here's what I would like, and Herman mentions health care. What I would like is to take this energy, now he's directing at Joe Scarborough, a failed congressman from Florida. Take that energy he's directing at these critics and maybe think about calling a key Democratic moderate and saying, hey, let's get together and get a health care plan that makes sense for your side of the aisle and my side of the aisle. Let's get the great middle of both great parties, and let's craft something that works. Let's achieve something historic. History won't remember that he made fun of some lady's plastic surgery. That's not a historically significant. But if he were to craft,
do you think that's realistic what he's saying, Herman? What Geraldo is saying? The Democrats really going to be willing to come to the table?
No, they've already said they don't want to come to the table. They're not going to come to the table. And I would agree with Geraldo, if the president simply ignores the insults, the results will rise to the top. But his DNA is that if you hit him, he's going to get back. He's going to hit back. That's just his DNA. And we're not going to change that. But the good news is that the results are far leading the insults. And if we stay focused on that, we, conservatives and supporters of the president, will be just fine.
And there you go. All right, thanks, gentlemen. And